Welcome to another Star Trek Hangout brought to you by the Star Trek channel and in memory of and honor of DeForest Kelley Facebook group. Tonight's guest is Alec Peters of Star Trek Axanar, an independent Star Trek production which recently released a fantastic film called Prelude to Axanar. Also on our panel tonight we have Rod Janpole, and he's the creator of the original Trekkers Facebook group. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with the questions. Alec, what inspired you to create Star Trek Axanar?
Well, I would say it was. Let me move my mic over. I would say it is a love of the character of Garth of Izar from Whom Gods Destroy, that third season episode. I always found that character fascinating and quite noble at the end when he's coming out of his fog of insanity. And so, yeah, so that was, it was just a character I wanted to know more about. I wanted to know his story. Why was he Kirk's hero? What was this Battle of Axanar? And so being a big Star Trek prop and costume collector, I actually acquired the original costume of Steve Inahat from Whom Gods Destroy. And as I often tell the story, I was talking to James Coley from Star Trek Phase 2 fame, the granddaddy of all Star Trek fan films, and he used to work for Bill Tice, and I mentioned that I got this costume, and he said to me, "Wow, that's really cool." And he said, "You know, we're filming an episode called Origins, which is about Kirk at the Academy, and that was the time of Garth." He said, "We should write Garth into the script," and I said, "Yeah, you should do that." And he said, "Well, why don't you come play him?" And I did. That episode sadly has never been released, but I have that clip up on our homepage at StarTrekAxanar.com. And it was a lot of fun, and it led to another appearance in Phase 2. And James kind of gave me, he just kind of said, "Hey, you need to write a script, and we'll produce it." And it went from being, me writing a script, and I wanted to make a fan film out of it, and it just kind of took off and has become this kind of amazing production that is just, I don't know. I don't know if you saw the article on Blaster yesterday, the sci-fi website, but they said it was better than anything Abrams put out, which was just kind of awe-inspiring and humbling.
That. I agreed with it too, by the way. Well, I tell you, I'm a fan of fan films, and there's no question that this is like nothing that's ever been put out. I was floored by it, and the effects, and the storytelling, and the cast. How did you manage to get such an excellent cast?
Well, Richard Hatch is an old friend of mine. With my first acting coach 20 years ago, and about 2 years ago, I asked him. I just took him out, as I always say, and plied him with sushi and sake, and he was sold. He just loved my passion and loved the story, and he wanted to play a Klingon, and that started it. And then I had a friend who knew J.G. Hertzler, and she connected me last year, and he joined, and then Gary Graham joined, and then Kate Vernon joined, and then we got Tony Todd. So there you go.
Well, having watched it, it's really evident that the acting quality is very high. And I really felt moved even during the Admiral's speech. And in the film, you played Garth of Izar. Now, tell us how did that come about? I guess you kind of told us already with James Cawley and whatnot.
Right, but, and so, yeah, so I wanted to play the character. And James gave me the opportunity 4 years ago, and again 2 years after that. And so it was just a matter of getting it all... getting the script down on paper, and then, I enrolled in acting school, one of the top acting schools in Los Angeles, the Howard Fine Studios, and was there for a year and a half before Richard started his class right nearby, and I live about half a mile from Richard, and so in between us is a theater, and he teaches a class every Tuesday there, and it's amazing. He's an amazing instructor, and it's been a privilege to work with him.
Well, I noticed you look a little like Garth. Did that have anything to do with it?
God, that someone had said that to me like 3 years ago, and I said to Christian Gossett when he joined as director, I said, yeah, you know, someone even said I looked like Garth. And Christian said, yeah, you do. Isn't that why you wanted to play him? And I was like, no, I had nothing to do with it. And since then, a lot of people have said that to me,
Well,
and I'm just kind of blown away by it. I don't see it, but I'm glad other people do. So,
well, now in this film, Garth isn't crazy. He's, like he was in Whom Gods Destroy. In this, we're getting to see the side of Garth that everybody's been wondering about, right?
yeah, I think what you want to do is if you enjoy that episode of Whom Gods Destroy, you want to know what was Garth like at his height. Why is he Kirk's hero? What's the Battle of Axanar? What did he do to win that? And so that's kind of I want to know about one of the greatest Starfleet captains of all time. That's a great story, and so that's the story we're telling.
Right. Kirk obviously looked up to him, and
Mm-hmm.
he had to have a reason, and now we'll get to see why.
Right.
That's great.
And this is Garth in his prime.
Right. So who designed the ships and the VFX for your Prelude to Axanar film?
I designed the Ares, which is Garth's ship, along with Sean Torango, who you might know from he designed the Titan. He won that contest to design the Titan, and it was his design, the Luna class. So Sean and I got together, and about 3 years ago, I think, and I kind of sent him a bunch of photos. I sent him photos of the Centaur class, which I always loved, and from Deep Space Nine, and a bunch of other photos I found on the web, and I kind of sketched it out on a piece of paper. I said something like this, go at it. And he sent me a sketch. I said, nope, go back. And he sent me more, and we worked together, and we got to a final. And then we sent it off to Tobias, and Tobias converted it, and he changed some things on it and turned it into a 3D model. So that was the Ares. And then all the rest of the ships are really designed by Tobias Richter, who's our VFX artist. So the Klingon D6 is his, and all the other ships. What we did was, with all the other ships in the Starfleet, we basically took the basic configurations we saw in JJ's movie in Star Trek 2009, and we said, let's change them, and let's kind of TOS them. And so they have different nacelles, different size, because JJ just blew everything up out of proportion. It was ridiculous. And so, yeah, so if you look at it, if JJ versus an alternate universe, there's parallel development in starship design. And so even in our universe, they kind of come in with the same designs. I think it makes sense, and it was a good starting point for us. And then we added a few others of our own design. But, yeah, that's basically it.
Now, Tobias Richter, his work has really set the standard for independent Star Trek productions, and it really is incredibly impressive. So Prelude to Axanar was a fictionalized documentary like we would see on History Channel, but way better, So will the upcoming full-length film be a documentary?
No, the upcoming film will be totally, it'll be your typical drama. It won't be like you've seen Prelude to Axanar. Prelude to Axanar is a one-time thing. It was something we said we needed a way to make a really interesting film on a small budget, and so that's why we came up with this idea. Now, and people have said to us, well, we noticed that it's part 3 of the 4 Years' War. Are you going to tell the other 3 stories? So, yeah, we may. Let's see how things go. We might well do that. It's been an exciting run, so we may get back to it after we shoot Axanar.
Excellent. I'm certain everyone wants to see more of this sort of high-quality work, and in the feature film format, So Prelude is an indicator of what we'll see, I'm sure, and it's going to be outstanding, I'm certain. So I'm sure everyone out there has a question in their mind, of course, and is, will we get to see the actual Battle of Axanar? Oh, you're muted there. Okay.
Am I okay?
No, you're good now.
I'm good now. Okay. I'm trying to get Rob Burnett to join us on this Google Hangout. Rob Burnett, writer director, Free Enterprise, our editor, and all amazing Star Trek guru. He produced all the Blu-rays of Star Trek for CBS for Next Generation. So, but anyway, yeah, the war. So basically, Prelude to Axanar is a primer. It is the history of the 4 Years' War up until the events of the movie Axanar. And Axanar will tell you basically the last month of the war. It's the Battle of Axanar, well, everything that leads up to the battle right there at the end, and the Battle of Axanar. And then the peace mission, because we know there was a peace mission, because we know for a fact that Kirk was a member of he was a new fledged cadet, and that was his first mission, one of his first missions. So we will see the peace mission too, and so that's kind of where the movie takes place.
Well, that's great. I'm sure people have wanted to see that since the '60s. Yeah. And well, when can we expect to see more out of Axanar Productions? Now, see, there's this annoying thing about Google Hangouts. This is a good time to tell Google, when you type, it mutes you, and it's just annoying. So you were muted right then, but go right ahead.
Okay. So, well, the focus right now is on shooting Axanar. We've got 2 vignettes we're going to shoot with Star Trek Phase 2 in October, and possibly a 3rd vignette then as well. That would involve J.G. Hertzler's character, Sam Travis, and Garth. The 2 vignettes we're shooting with Star Trek Phase 2 take place in the TOS timeline, and they're what happens after Whom Gods Destroy. The Enterprise crew goes back to pick Garth up and bring him back to Starfleet, and it tells that story, the story there, and it's meant to be like bookends around Axanar. So you could see the first vignette, then you watch Axanar, and then you would watch the last vignette, and it really puts the story in context in the TOS time frame. And they're pretty good stories. I think everyone's going to get a kick out of them.
It sounds brilliant. Yeah, absolutely.
And so we'll shoot that. We'll shoot Axanar, and then let's see. I mean, our goal is to build our own studio and be able to continually deliver top quality science fiction to our donors and our fans. And we've got plans to maybe do a Robert April story after this. David Gerald, the writer of The Trouble with Tribbles, is one of our creative consultants, and he has a project he wants us to produce. So we're hoping this is not just for us it's, well, we don't call this a fan film in the first place. I mean, we think we call ourselves, we think it's independent Star Trek filmmaking. So that being said, we want to make other films, and we want to make other films that aren't Star Trek too. Although if CBS decides that they want to hire me to run Star Trek for them, I'd be more than happy to. But
yes.
Assuming that's not happening, we'd love to continue to make Star Trek. We are the biggest Star Trek geeks, as everyone else is there. We're all the same, and so we'll see what comes of it. But we want to keep going.
Well, how can people help you do that?
Well, funny you should ask. So right now our Kickstarter is running, and we've got about 6.5 days left in the Kickstarter. And if you go to Kickstarter.com and search Axanar, A-X-A-N-A-R, you'll come upon our page, and you'll be able to watch the full-length Prelude to Axanar there, and you'll be able to donate and help the cause. So.
That's excellent. Well, is there anything else you want to plug or anything before we wrap up here?
Really, the Kickstarter. I think everyone's excited about Prelude to Axanar, as are we, and we want to continue to make great Star Trek for everyone. And in order to do that, we need money, because we don't make any money off this. We don't take a dime off of this. And in order, Prelude cost $80,000 to make. Axanar is going to cost $650 or more. So we need help. We need donors, and our donors. We just have some awesome donors. They can't. We were just at Houston Con, for example, which flew the entire cast out, and our donors. They're so loving. They come up and they love what they're doing, and it's so much fun. And they're so loyal. And heck, some of them print like business cards that they hand out to their friends at conventions, and it's amazing. We're really blessed.
Well, that's great. And if people want to see Prelude to Axanar, they can go to that Kickstarter page right now to see that if they haven't seen it yet, right?
Exactly.
If you haven't seen it and you're a Star Trek fan and you're a fan of fan films or independent films, you will be blown away. All right, this is like nothing else you've ever seen. The quality of this is absolutely professional. The effects are taking it to a whole new level. You have a professional cast, and the acting is excellent, and you really will be impressed. And this is just a taste of what's to come. Okay. And I want to thank everybody here. I want to take a moment to thank Alec Peters, our guest, of course, and to thank our panel member, Rod Janpole. And say hello, Rod. You can. You're muted there. He's muted. That's okay.
Yes, I was. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Great to see you, Alec.
Thank you.
And I want to thank all the audience members out there from now into the future. You can stay in touch with Star Trek Hangouts by visiting us on Facebook, Google+, and Twitter. And you can keep up to date with Star Trek Axanar, including all the new developments at StarTrekAxanar.com. So we look forward to seeing you at the next Star Trek Hangout. Until then, live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.